I don't know what it is, but Paul Wallace and Tony Lundy, you guys robbed O'Shaquie Foster, robbed him of his title. You two should be ashamed. Something should happen, a suspension. They should have to forfeit their money for that fight. I mean, I know none of these things are going to happen, and it'll go away because boxing sweeps it under the rug, and you don't hear about this again. And don't forget Javier Camacho out of Mexico. He had Bam Rodriguez losing the fight with Estrada 57-56.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
But first things first, and I'm going to get the link out here. I want to read off a couple of names. Tony Lundy and Paul Wallace. You may not know who they are, but they are two judges who scored the fight between Foster and Conceição for Conceição. Tony Lundy scored at 116-112. Paul Wallace scored at 115-113. Remember those names because I thought that it was highway robbery. And of course, Bob Arum doesn't think so. He thought it was a close fight. I didn't see anything close about it. I don't know if anyone, maybe I'm in the minority, but if anybody thought that fight, if anybody thought Conceição won the fight, please make yourself known. Because Jay Rich says one of those judges had Conceição winning 6 consecutive rounds. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Tony Lundy and Paul Wallace. Those are the two judges that scored it for Conceição. You bring up these judges and there's no accountability and nothing will be done. They'll continue to work, but maybe if people don't forget and people complain about the names, just like a judge from Mexico, Javier Camacho, who scored the fight between Bam Rodriguez and Estrada, had Estrada up 57-56. So Tony Lundy has had 697 fights, Paul Wallace over 700. I looked at Tony Lundy's record. It looks like he has a lot of 4-rounders, a lot of 8-rounders. Paul Wallace, I believe he was one of the judges in the Lamont Roach fight. But it's sad for O'Shaquie Foster. It really is, because to get your title taken away from you, to get it stolen from you, and you have no recourse. So yeah, I was shocked. Tim Cheatham, I love that name, and it's a perfect name. Would be proud for sure. James S. says, hey, that was insane when they read off them scorecards. It was, but unfortunately, it's boxing and you can do nothing. I hope that there was a rematch clause. They didn't really say anything about that, but O'Shaquie Foster, hopefully he gets the rematch because I feel like he was just robbed. My man Levi, those two judges crushed Foster's hopes and dreams on live television like it was fine. What a robbery. Goes to show the only way to win now, really nowadays, is a knockout. And it really is. James S. says, on a better note, I had Garcia on the money line. That hit. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I feel for O'Shaquie and Tony Lundy and Paul Wallace are the two judges that took his title away. I really don't know what fight they were watching, and I haven't run into anyone that had Conceição winning. SB got beats, my man. What's going on, brother? So it's one of those things. The guy gets his title taken, and Levi's right. The only way to be sure is by knockout. But what if you don't get the knockout? What if you dominate? And you have to rely on judges. So I read off 3 names: Tony Lundy, Paul Wallace, and Javier Camacho. In recent fights, those are judges who should at least be called out and say why they scored the way they scored. I need to talk to Randy Gordon, who's a former athletic commissioner of New York. I'd just be curious what his take is, because I believe I'll have to ask him what they do with judges with questionable fights, although this was a New Jersey fight. So I would ask him, but it was a New Jersey fight. It was in Newark. So Larry Hazard is the man. It's a shame. it's sad. I mean, dude, Foster literally had tears in his eyes, and you feel for the guy because he defended his title and he won, and he should be moving on to the next fight. And he got robbed. So again, I don't know if they have a rematch clause. I hope so. I hope they do. Foster was definitely better rolling the shoulder all night. Probably the best I've seen someone do it. That's it. Why can't boxing get it right? And I'm glad Foster's been he's got phenomenal skills. In his last couple fights, he's been the cardiac kid, having to get last round knockouts or knockdowns to win fights. And I just thought he was better than that. And he put it together. And I thought he was dominant. Look, he didn't knock the guy out. He didn't drop the guy, but you got a 3-minute round. You want to win as many rounds as you can in a 12-round fight. Okay? He won 9, 10 rounds of that fight. And he got robbed by Tony Lundy and Paul Wallace. You'll never hear interviews with Tony Lundy or Paul Wallace because boxing doesn't do that. They don't let you talk to the ref. They don't let you talk to the judges. There's no accountability, and it won't change. All the people, people want to talk about Ryan Garcia and Tyson Fury, and he's at a bar drunk. But talk about a guy like Oshaki Foster, who won a belt and got robbed like he did. Talk about that. Tim Bradley was disgusted. He was disgusted at the judges. ESPN was disgusted at the judges. But there's no recourse. The only recourse is that Foster gets a rematch and takes care of business in the ring. But if you don't knock people out, anything can happen. And it is a part about boxing that sucks. Lamont Roach was at the fight, and the ESPN broadcast didn't say a word. Well, yeah, that's how it is. That's just it's a very nasty sport. The business is nasty, and the fans are nasty, and you know Ryan Garcia is still making headlines. The dude was at his brother's fight. His brother got knocked out. Of course, he got knocked out by Vargas. Everybody knew Vargas was going to knock him out. And he said he skipped going to rehab so he could be at the fight. He's not going to rehab. He's just saying things to appease people. Um, and I try not to talk about that. Party time. Someone made a comment stating that the former boxers should become judges. I think Tim Bradley might have said that too. I don't know, man. I don't know if that. I think they just need to find competent people. They need to find competent people, and I don't know if it's the training. I don't know what it is, but they just need better people. And when you have judges that give scorecards like Tony Lundy and Paul Wallace did, something needs to happen. Something needs to happen. Yes, they do need a clear criterion. Tim Bradley, I've spoken with Tim Bradley, and um he's been to clinics, judging clinics, and they talk about how they score fights. And but I don't know if judges listen to what they say at these clinics. They need something. They need something. I don't know what it is, but Paul Wallace and Tony Lundy, you guys robbed Oshaki Foster, robbed him of his title. You two should be ashamed. Something should happen, a suspension. They should have to forfeit their money for that fight. I mean, I know none of these things are going to happen, and it'll go away because boxing sweeps it under the rug, and you don't hear about this again. And don't forget Javier Camacho out of Mexico. He had Bam Rodriguez losing the fight with Estrada 57-56. He had Estrada beating Bam Rodriguez after 6 rounds. So, it is what it is. But listen, I appreciate everybody in here. Party time. Glad you made it to the party. Make sure you check out. Yeah, party. I mean, that's an old thing. Boxing used to be rampant with this stuff. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Do they just have inept people as judges? I don't know. Because you start throwing around payouts and gambling, you have to have proof, obviously. So I wouldn't say that. I'll just say they're inept. They are inept at their jobs. And usually when you're inept at your job, you get replaced or you have to go through training to become better. And I don't know if Tony Lundy or Paul Wallace, I don't know if they're going to be called to do that. But listen, I appreciate everybody. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. You subscribe to One Round with George. There could be some beautiful things in your future like this. Subscribe to my YouTube page and you can win a once-in-a-lifetime, no expenses paid trip to check out the boxing memorabilia in my garage and in my home office. You can come hit the heavy bag and go through the hundreds of boxing magazines I have, and even take a picture with a life-size Oscar De La Hoya cardboard cutout that I took when I was at HBO. Subscribe now for your chance to win all of this.